What's going on, my fellow A-plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new video. It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, certainly coming through today as we've got ourselves yet another Loki review for you guys as we're going to get into episode number 5 titled Journey into Mystery. As we get to our penultimate episode, we've got one more episode left next week, guys. Episode 6 will, in fact, be the season finale. And of course, we certainly will be wrapping it up for you guys. But before we get there, we got to tackle episode number 5, from all the character work to the great special effects to all the amazing Easter eggs that we wind up noticing here in this week's episode. Kind of curious to see what you guys might have certainly have picked out in this week's episode. But as always, just remember, these are simply just our A+ opinions. But at the end of the day, we want to know yours. What did you guys think about episode number 5? Did it live up to your expectations? Are you hyped for the finale? What did you guys catch in this episode? Definitely go ahead and let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below after this particular video airs, ladies and gentlemen. But it's not just me today. No. You know, we wind up having ourselves a semi-full crew, always coming through, especially when it comes to our Loki reviews. We got Indy in the house. What's going on, Indy? Good to see you, buddy.
What's going on? The full crew's always here. Stuart's in my heart. I miss you, Stuart.
He's here in spirit, most definitely. Yeah, he jumped into our Facebook Messenger a little bit, kind of gave some of his things that he wind up picking up from this week's episode of Loki. So hopefully, maybe we'll wind up having him on our finale next week, perhaps. If not, we'll definitely talk to him this upcoming weekend for A+ Hero Reports, which we didn't have a live episode this week, man. Sorry about that, Indy. Sorry we weren't able to get to that this week.
No, it's cool. It was
the holiday, I figure, you know?
Yeah, it was their holiday they were celebrating.
Yeah, exactly. Who we got in the house today? We got AJ Zyla. Now, AJ, are you the same AJ? Are you Dino AJ under a different name? I get so confused with all the AJs that we have, or if this is actually another AJ. So regardless, we're doing great today, man. Good to see you. Anytime it's a Loki Wednesday, it's a good day. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely, man. 2 o'clock in the morning hits and my phone cuts on.
I definitely feel. How many times did you watch this week's episode, bro?
Three. I'm back at work, so I don't get to just sit and just indulge
8 hours
myself.
worth of Loki. Okay, I get you.
Yeah, no. So I got 3, picked out some pretty cool things, but I feel like if I was able to watch more, I would have saw more because the Easter eggs cameth in this episode.
Yeah, there was a lot of pausing and stopping in every little scene. Even if there wasn't anything in the scene, I kept thinking to myself, there's got to be something here. Just stopping and pausing each and every time. But yeah, guys, we definitely want to know what you guys certainly might have picked up in this week's episode. But overall, Indy, what are your overall thoughts of this week's episode?
Very, very well paced episode. Lots of stuff going on that was very interesting. It was a good setup for what we're going to see. Lots of cool variants, and man, they showed us a lot without giving anything away. I have no idea who, I know who writes it, but I have no idea what's going on in their head to be able to just
come up with this stuff, right?
Yeah, because they gave us a lot. I mean, they went full nerd on us this episode. Ended up tying up a lot. To me, I feel like they tied up some loose ends. A lot of people don't feel like they did that, but they still kept everything that they were supposed to keep secret without even really giving hints to what was going on. Or I'm just too dumb to see the hints that were going on. Either way, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed this week's episode for sure. This is definitely a Nerdgasms episode. I mean, if you're a nerd and you love comic books, you easily pick up on a ton of stuff that wind up popping up in here in this episode, which I thought they definitely had a ton of fun with this episode, honestly. I really enjoyed a lot of the way that this episode was shot specifically. Like, if we can get into the technical aspect of this episode, one, the special effects were incredible, if you ask me. They continue to push the envelope there. But just opening this episode with the great camera work and the shot selections, just the whole idea of taking the camera sort of a 360 spin, not only through the TVA, but then, tossing us into the void, if you will, and sort of that, dramatic close-up shots of seeing Loki and other Loki variants. I thought it was just really well utilized in this episode, especially when we do get to see the Loki lair, if you will, like when they're going underground, just the camera work to go from one shot to kind of give us that slow glimpse of the underground right into sort of that next scene when he actually gets gets into their lair. Just really well handled in regards to some of the direction choices that they had in here. But I had a blast with this from, from not only just the Easter eggs, if you will, but I think when you talk about the idea of wrapping up some storylines, right? Like kind of getting that culmination between Loki along with Mobius, right? Finally getting to see Loki drop that F word. And that's not F-U-C-K, but friend, right? Like the idea, like I feel like we never hear Loki mention the idea notion of friends at all. But the fact that he has somebody that he can finally relate to, or at least have somebody that's close to him like that, I thought it was a great sort of send off for their friendship, if you will. Whether or not they get to see each other come the next episode or not, or if this is their true departing sense, I do think that this was a really fitting end, not only to Loki and Mobius's friendship, but also just kind of adding more layers to the whole Sylvie and Loki situation, clearly highlighting their feelings that they have for each other, that sort of awkward moment, if you will, but pushing the envelope in regards to that. So I really enjoyed what they wind up doing with both of those characters this week.
Most indubitably, man. I love the way you went with that. The cinematography in this episode was just on point from the cloud beast thing that they were fighting, to just the looking at the landscape and showing the vastness, of where they were at, the way they hid Easter eggs, in plain. There was a lot of stuff they hid in plain sight. Like you're either gonna catch it or you're not gonna catch it. So I was intrigued with everything that happened in this episode and the character development, not from Loki that we got, but the character development from Sylvie. Her looking as if she actually trusts, what's going on with Loki and the decisions that she made, in order to end up in places that she ended up.
And I feel like this season overall, like just based off of what Mobius said in this episode, I can't remember what Loki he was talking to. I think he might have been talking to classic Loki when he drops the line, it's never too late to change. And I almost feel like that's kind of the lesson of this series, if you will, when you get the opportunity to see all these different variants of Lokis, right? Them clearly kind of all having the same personality, not too many kind of diverting from what it means to be a Loki, but to kind of see the idea that a Loki can truly be whatever they want to be, that you can certainly change. I really liked how that storyline is kind of fleshed out for Tom Hiddleston in here, giving us a fresh take on the character. We talked about this prior, the idea that I personally feel like he's done more character growth in just these 5 episodes than we've seen in the past 10 years of the MCU. So I really love the idea that they've given him sort of this fresh take, if you will, and pushing that storyline that it's truly never too late to change. And you get to see some of that even when it comes to Sylvie as well. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there in regards to Sylvie continuing to grow. I absolutely love her as a character. I really do.
Amazing character. Somebody
I do want to. I was going to ask you, do you believe that they both truly trust each other at this point, since you mentioned the idea of her trying to trust Loki? Because she even drops that at the end of the episode, wanting to know from Loki himself if she can trust him. It does make me to wonder, is there a classic Loki still within them to turn on each other? Or do you think this is a full-on trust that they have going into the finale?
I think this is the first person she might have truly trusted. To be totally honest with you, this is definitely the first person. Well, I feel like Loki trusts Thor to always be there for him, regardless of anything, like never give up on him. But this is, to me, is the first person. Well, because this is pre Infinity War Loki that we're talking about right here. This is the first person that this particular Loki has ran into that he wanted to die for, that he wanted to do something for, other than Thor. And that's what's interesting about this.
Yeah, I agree. Even AJ in here in the comments, he says, for Sylvie to prune herself meant she's fully committed to our Loki. But I feel like he will do a 180 in the last episode. We will see evil, mischievous Loki. So he thinks that Loki will be the one to pull the trigger on their traitorous ways. But he makes a good point. The idea that Sylvie prunes herself, I think clearly is probably not only just for her own intentions of trying to find certainly what's going on, but clearly to try and find Loki also to a certain extent.
With her not knowing if he's dead or alive, I think she just pruned herself because she knew that was going to get her to the point of where she needed to get. She didn't even know he was alive. So it's just like a bonus for her that she ran into him, but she was going to get to that point, period. And once she found out that she could prune herself and get there, Whether she did that or whether she used the little device that they was going to use, she was going to get to that point regardless. Just that at that time, pruning herself was the quickest way and most official way for her to get there.
And I love the choice. The fact that she runs into Mobius, which answers your question from last week, right? The idea of whether or not Mobius was actually alive or not. He winds up popping up in here also, which I thought was fantastic to kind of see them actually team up for a change. They all have great chemistry on screen together. But really love the Sylvie stuff. I am kind of curious if, when she's getting ready to prune herself and she leaves, she makes reference to the idea that there's like one memory that she kind of remembers, or there's one thing kind of worth it says, what is Sylvie's one good memory that she has? Do you think that's her time on Lamentis, or do you think with Loki, or do you think she's referring to another memory that she certainly might have had?
I'm thinking she might be referring to something in her childhood, because I'm still trying to think about, like, did her Nexus event happen, or were they trying to catch her before her Nexus event happened?
We still don't know what it is, do we?
What was it? Because she was happy? You know what I'm saying? Was it because she was born female and every other Loki was a male?
Maybe that was the Nexus event itself.
Yeah, it's interesting in that aspect, and I do feel like we're going to get that answer when it comes to this final episode, but I don't know if both of them make it out. So that's what's interesting to me. With Tom Hiddleston being, like, he's an EP on this, isn't he? Like, isn't he an executive producer?
So. I believe he might be. Yeah.
With him being an EP on this, and people like him and Scarlett Johansson with opportunities to be directors and executive producers on projects and stuff like that, I believe that he wouldn't mind stepping away from the role because he could still be a beneficial to the universe, behind the scenes. And the way that I see him catering to Sylvie's character kind of foreshadows that Loki might not make it. But as we know, that, like AJ said, that could be a complete misdirect.
Yeah, I definitely do get that vibe. Like, these two walk in, one walks out. Right? Like, but a part of me is kind of hoping that maybe because we are tapping into multiverse and we're introducing all these characters, that maybe there is a world where we can have two Lokis, or a Loki and an Enchantress at some point in time, right? Like, maybe she takes up a different mantle for herself. So I really do hope that that's certainly the case, because I've loved Sophia DiMartino and anything that she's certainly done in this season so far. So I really do hope that she plans to kind of stick around in some way or another. There was another thing that I wanted, I was just thinking to myself, I think the reason why there's certainly have such an eye on Sylvie in here, I have a feeling that maybe whoever is in charge of all this, maybe is kind of seeing the outcome, that maybe all the other Loki variants that they've kind of pushed aside haven't really been that big of a threat. But maybe Sylvie, her just being who she is probably this clearly their biggest threat, to be able to get where she's at to this particular point in time in her life, actually approaching the person in the TVA. I think that alone is probably worthy enough of blipping her out of the timeline, right? Because if she's truly going to be the one, as they have said before, the most dangerous of the variants, to get this far into the process of actually stopping the TVA, I can see probably why they wanted to prune her at such a young age. I'm wondering if that was her goal all along, was to take down the TVA as part of her Nexus event, and so they've trying to eliminate that from happening.
I could definitely dig that, but on top of that, maybe she is the one who allows our Loki to unlock his latent potential, because that's honestly what it seems like. I mean,
she tapped into a new power today.
Yeah, she taught him in a span of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How to enchant something. So Loki's getting the power up, and from what you see from classic Loki, the level of power that they're capable of, you know what I'm saying, if they understand who they are, this Loki could become a problem for anybody. And that's where it looks like the heel turn. That's where it looks like the Hogan joins the NWO could come. But it's so obvious. Do you think they would do that? Because that's like completely obvious and exactly what you expect They spent, but then again, they spent so much time this season saying Lokis can change. What if you end up finding out they really can't?
Yeah, or maybe a select ones. Well, I will say this. I feel like the Richard E. Grant one that we saw to a certain extent might have changed a little bit, just based off of his time, clearly, living on that planet alone type of thing. The fact that him and Kid Loki decide, at first that they're certainly not going to help him. It's just, they're just going to get themselves killed if they kind of help out. But the idea of them stopping and changing their minds, definitely does go to show that they certainly can. But yeah, maybe certainly not all of them. What was the other one that the time was it time waster? What's up, time waster?
Waster said when Sylvie said I need a new outfit, I was expecting Loki to conjure her up an enchantress outfit. That would have probably been more uncomfortable than outfit she was wearing right then.
Well, I will say this: I did see on some website. I just happened to notice before we went live. They were trying to point out some of the other Easter eggs that we certainly might have missed. And one of the things that they pointed out is when you see, I think she's in the car with Mobius, and she's leaning on the front dash. When you look at her forearms, you know how Enchantress, she's got the circle design and stuff going down the legs on her arms. Sylvie has the same thing on her costume also. So I do think it is a variant of the Enchantress costume that she might be rocking already. Maybe just not full-blown costume. AJ says, crazy wild theory for who's in the whose castle that was. Remember when Mobius mentioned vampires? What if it's Dracula's castle? Imagine Loki variant as a bloodsucker. Now we're going into Castlevania mode here. For Netflix.
I don't think that would be I don't think that's the way they want to do the vampires in the MCU. I don't think they want to bring them in like that.
I do have a theory.
I want to hear this because you normally don't do the theory thing. So I'm interested in this.
I believe the man behind the curtain, while it's not necessarily Kang himself, I do think since we've been dealing with variants, I have a feeling that maybe it's a variant of Kane, and specifically that variant being a Mortis, maybe. He is a version of Kang that we have kind of yet to see. I think Immortus is like a future version of Kang, if I'm not mistaken. Clearly, they could easily take liberties if they certainly wanted to, especially based off of how much Kang truly has inspired the Marvel Comics himself, right? For Immortus, Kang, Iron Lad, and things like that. Certainly a direction that they could easily be going in if they certainly wanted to. And the idea that Immortus, I believe, just from looking up description, he kind of lives out in limbo, right? Kind of off of the timeline, if you will. It looked like that castle itself was kind of just chilling in limbo, if you ask me, just kind of off the timeline in its own little spectrum or whatever the case may be. If we are dealing with variants and variants seem to be playing a significant role, I can see this maybe being an Immortus character that we get introduced to, and it wouldn't take away at all from Jonathan Majors as Kang popping up in Ant-Man. Maybe that's just a progression of his story to further go. So, I mean, look, I know Immortus is like the like maybe it's a Nathaniel Richards for all we know. Like maybe this is an opening into the Fantastic Four to some extent. You know what I mean? What happened?
I'm just throwing stuff at the wall and see if it sticks.
If it sticks, but I mean, regardless if it's the Nathaniel Richards thing, I am still leaning towards the idea. If I had a theory that if they wanted to pull a swerve on us, I wouldn't mind it being Immortus at some point. What do you think of that, though?
I'm with you, and to be honest with you, I don't honestly think that's a swerve. I think that fits into that's a piece of the Kang theory that everybody, you know what I'm saying, everybody wants to see. Anybody who's come up with a theory that it is Kang, a lot of people know about Immortus, and if you're telling a Kang story, you're eventually going to get to, you know what I'm saying, Immortus. So I wouldn't see that as a surprise at all if that's the way they went. But like I told you, in the background, that tower, castle, or whatever it is, and I know this is a reach. This is me trying to pick up a 2-ton car and throw it 30 feet. That looked like the Doom Tower, the Doom Castle from Battleworld. Okay. Dang near the exact same thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if they made it look that way just to be like, ha ha, you know what I'm saying, type of deal, or if it was just another Easter egg. But I'm still on the thing that it might be. It's two things for me. It has something to do with Kang, or it's like a 616 Loki.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? It's either another version of Loki or it's Kang. You even have people throwing out there it's Thanos because they talked about Titans and vampires. It's Thanos. You saw his copter there. I was like, yeah, that would make sense if they prune Thanos in the copter, but I don't want to see that version of Thanos be the big bad, robbing banks and everything like that. But that would be a perfect reason for him to be, you know what I'm saying, subdued by the TVA. Hey, this is not what you're supposed to be doing, guy.
Not at all. Not at all. Speaking of Thanos, are there any they did have a few quite a few Easter eggs in here. If we want to go ahead and transition to some Easter egg talk real quick.
Okay.
Couple things that might have jumped out at you. What are some of the ones that jumped out at you, Indy?
The biggest one that jumped out at me that I was just giddy like a little schoolgirl. Like I and rewinding and watching it over and over again was this joint right here, man.
Throg. I love
Throg, like right at the beginning, man. I was not ready for that. Even the T365, you know what I'm saying, on the bottle. And then I think right under him was the hammer, like where it was going down. So it's like they used the hammer as a distraction to let you not see that. But I was like, what up? Is that a cape? Why is there red in the dirt? And then like I rewound and looked at that. That was pretty dope.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty awesome.
The thing that's the Thanos copter. That's the one that had everybody going crazy when they saw that. And they did it so quick. It was so dope. So dope.
Yeah, I think they did a fantastic job in this episode of really just paying just paying tribute to a ton of classic moments in the comic books. Not only that, but just also just for the fans too. I'm sure a lot of that was certainly to go ahead and get some of the fans hyped. What else did we wind up having? We did see the Yellow Jacket helmet wind up popping up from the first Ant-Man was here. So yeah, I'm so fascinated by the idea that these helmets or some of these Easter eggs that we see are gigantic in size, you know, like I'm kind of curious as to why that helmet is as big as it is.
Maybe he figured out how to reverse the pin particles too and end up growing big, like, you know what I'm saying, Giant Man does. Or maybe this is where everybody goes crazy and says this ties into Ant-Man 3.
Oh, possible. We're getting some references here already. The other one I wind up noticing, the Living Tribunal. From the comic books, the 3-headed guy with the cloth over his head. I'm not too familiar with the Living Tribunal myself, but I definitely can recognize that head for sure.
Yeah, they did a great job, like making it look like just like regular rocks. Like, but when you freeze frame it, you can see it. But like when it's just going past, it looks like mountain range.
Yeah, another. You know what did look like mountain range to me that I didn't catch at first was Ronin ship. I was not expecting Ronin ship from Guardians of the Galaxy to be in here, but I thought it was a great placement, honestly.
Yeah, it really was. And the funny thing to me is, Loki would have died before he was able to recognize that.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
He would have died before he's able to recognize a lot of this stuff. Seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course one of the cool things that I think you guys pointed out to me that I didn't even catch was the idea that High C is canon in the MCU, and not just that, but Ecto Cooler, my guy. I loved Ecto Cooler growing up as a kid. I did not see that, and when I watched it originally.
Ghostbusters crossover coming soon to the MCU.
Yeah, confirmed. Ghostbusters and MCU are in the same universe. And then we wind up having ourselves a pretty interesting group of variants that wind up sort of popping up in here. I honestly thought that just based off of the trailers and stuff, I thought it was going to be our Loki that was going to go ahead and actually fill this Vote Loki costume. But I am glad to see that it was in fact yet another variant, as all these guys are definitely variants of Loki, but they all seem to act the same just based off of this episode we saw.
But we know what Loki stole the show, right?
Alligator Loki
stole the show. Taking off people's hands, just chilling in the pool. Like Alligator Loki was dope. And the fact that Loki couldn't wrap his head around a Loki being an alligator, and he's like, well, yeah, I can see it. And then they talking to him later, and he's like, yeah, he's a Loki. You know what I'm saying? Like, still trying to wrap his head around that there's an alligator Loki.
I did find it hilarious though too, that just based off of how they filmed this episode, just the idea that they literally gave the alligator Loki his own close-up shots. He's given expressions or comments and stuff. Like he's supposed to fit into the conversation somehow. But I did love the way that they included him for sure in this episode. It was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, that was pretty dope.
Let's see here. Yeah, the Loki variants I thought was pretty interesting though. We got Kid Loki in here. We come to find out he's the king of this particular realm because of the fact that he wind up actually killing Thor, something that our Loki clearly couldn't do. We had the boastful Loki in here who was talking about the idea of him killing Cap and Iron Man and taking the Infinity Stones for himself, which clearly the alligator and classic Loki thought was simply all a lie. But I found the story interesting itself. And I really loved classic Loki's played by Richard Grant, which felt more like very much our Loki, but almost like an older version, right? Because he even recalls that time on the ship when Thanos actually arrives in was it Infinity War?
Infinity War.
Yeah, so I love the fact that we do see moments where both of our Lokis have been, but you can clearly see how Richard E. Grant's classic Loki diverted, which I thought his idea of coming up with a really detailed illusion so that it fooled even Thanos himself. I felt like that was like a theory that fans who wanted Loki to survive so badly after Infinity War kind of came up with themselves, right? Maybe it was an illusion. Maybe Loki's still alive, sort of thing. I love the fact that they played up on that with their Richard E. Grant Loki.
Facts. And I love that. I just love every bit of dialogue he had. I love the moment he got like recreating an illusion of Asgard that looks so real.
Yeah. Incredible stuff.
Man, that was amazing. That was amazing. Just giving them enough time to be able to enchant the cloud beast. The cloud lion that looked like a panther.
Was it Alioth? Alioth? How did I pronounce?
I call it a lioness. A lioness.
I love it. I love it. But for me, I really love seeing just classic Loki, just what his power set was, just to see how extremely powerful he certainly was, and clearly gave Sylvie and Loki the determination and the power to actually control Alioth by the end of this episode, to really showcase just how powerful they truly could be if they really pushed themselves. So I thought that was a cool little throwback for a classic Loki to show our heroes what they're capable of doing.
Right. Totally agree. It was really, really good, man. Like for episode to set up a series or season finale, because at this point we don't know. As far as we know now, it's series finale. But the show is so popular, there's so many different stories that you could tell with different Lokis. Why can't they just do like the Book of Boba Fett and follow, you know what I'm saying, follow a different Loki and what they went through. But I am extremely excited for this last episode. I'm even curious to see what the runtime of this last episode is.
Oh yeah, that I don't know. I think this one was about 48 minutes, give or take, credits and stuff. No post credit here this episode, which is a little bit of a bummer. I was kind of I want to say expecting, but was kind of hoping for one, especially after last week's. AJ does throw in another Easter egg. We didn't have a photo of it. Did you happen to catch this? He puts a Quang Tower, Qeng, Quang Tower. I didn't catch that one, AJ, at all. I did. We did see the Avengers Tower, right? Yeah, which I believe was supposed to become Quang Tower.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that came Quang Tower. But to me, at the time that would have happened, I thought it was Avengers Tower because that was post 2012.
Yeah, I think where I had read it out. Let me see if I can pull it up on this. There was they did have a section on here about the Quang Tower. Let me see if I can pull it up though, where they were talking about it. Oh, the USS Eldridge, that big ship that wind up coming in at the end. Do you know anything about that, Indy?
No, I just know it got destroyed.
Here, let me pull this. Did I? Oh, here we go. Loki explains the origin of one of the 20th century's most infamous urban legends. So it says, let me see here. Okay, so what is the urban mystery about the USS Eldridge and the Philadelphia experiment? It says, in a nutshell, in 1943, the USS Eldridge was taken to the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard and equipped with generators that would make the ship invisible to enemy radar, or so the legend goes. But when the generators were turned on, the ship was surrounded by a green-blue glow, and then it vanished entirely. The Eldridge was then said to have turned up in Virginia Norfolk's Naval Shipyard, then returned again to Philadelphia, when those two locations should take days to move between. But that's not the weirdest part. The men on board apparently experienced strange side effects. Some suddenly felt ill, while others were horribly burned, and others found their limbs were nightmarishly fused to the ship. So yeah, that's the urban legend in regards to it. But so I thought that was pretty interesting that they kind of utilized that urban legend and threw in the USS Eldridge, kind of similar to how they did like DB Cooper, and coming to find out that it was Loki all along, to kind of find out that maybe it was the TVA that wind up pruning the USS Eldridge from the timeline because of its Nexus event. I thought it was pretty interesting. Again, that's just smart storytelling, man.
How do you prune a whole ship?
Whole ship. Yeah, man. Maybe it's just in harbor and you just poke it and then everything just
is that what a time bomb actually does? Is that how they take that out? They reset the time bombs, and the time bomb is nothing but like a prune bomb.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I feel like that's what it's come down to. Real quick here, we do want to say Billy does have a comment, because I do want to talk about this character. But Billy says, this is just my guess, but I think Ravonna is still behind all this. She definitely seems to certainly know more than she's certainly still letting up. I found it interesting that Miss Minutes herself was trying to do her best to stall, if you will, so that the TVA agents could could actually arrive to go ahead and capture Sylvie. But just their brief sort of truce that they wind up having, her seemingly being devastated to find out the truth about the TVA, but then quickly coming to find out that it's all a lie for Sylvie, right? To kind of soften her up, if you will, to get her to trust her a little bit. Do you think Ravonna... where do you think Ravonna sits into all this, Indy, based off of what we got in this episode? Because I still don't trust her.
I don't trust her at all. I still think she has connection to Karen. I feel like she knows what everything is, and now she's on 10 trying to protect who she wants to protect. If it is a Kang tie, and this is only if it's a Kang tie, I do believe they have that bond, that love thing, you know what I'm saying, going on, and she's doing his bidding. If it's not, it could be something where she's in the blue as much, you know what I'm saying, she only doing what she knows, so
yeah, because it seems like she wants to find out who's behind the TVA, but also at the same time, she's really trying to do her best to kind of protect it. Almost like by protecting the timeline, it's gonna be like another good deed for her, that whoever is in charge of the timeline or the TVA can look down on her, and just be like, great job, I'm gonna reward you, if you will, type of thing. So I'm kind of curious to know, like, does she really want to take the TVA down? Or is this her just trying to protect it at all costs, sort of thing?
Or was she the one who made the mistake that made all this start rolling, and you know what I'm saying, made this all go into motion to start off with? It's all because of her, and she's trying to correct the problem.
Possible. I mean, based off of what we saw last week of her being the one to go ahead and bring in Sylvie at a young age, but then her also losing the variant too, right? So I do find it interesting to be able to make a mistake like that, but then to go from being a TVA agent to an actual judge. Yeah, I wonder if she's been doing some favors behind the scene for whoever this is, type of thing. For them to promote her after losing a variant that clearly is going to get to the end of time in here. I don't know how you could promote somebody that does that. But again, I'm still going under the theory that this is what they've been trying to prevent this whole entire time.
Or maybe it could be something like similar to people not putting stuff on the books, doing stuff under the table. Maybe a lot of the tactics that she used was stuff she wasn't supposed to. That stuff that whoever's in charge wasn't privy to. and she's trying to make sure that she can save her own ass and cover everything up. Because if that case, what's the point of not pruning B15 and actually keeping her alive? You know what I'm saying, and locked up.
That's a good question, man. That's a good question. Another question for you: do you think that time craft, that void time craft, do you think that's a real thing, or do you think she just made that up to stall for time?
I think that's something the writers put in there to save themselves. So just in case they couldn't figure out, like, I feel like that's something they came up with at the beginning. Like, okay, we're gonna do all this. We need a way out just in case we need to use it. So we're mentioning time craft. So if we have to use it, we can use it. If we can't get ourselves, you know what I'm saying, out of a corner we wrote ourselves into. That's what I think that is.
I do wonder if like Ravonna, like if it is a real prototype, if she herself will actually even take it to get to wherever Loki and Sylvie are at this particular moment. I feel like this is going to come full circle, man. There are clearly things that I still want to see. I mean, look, we still got Mobius who's going to be going back to the TVA. I'm almost expecting some sort of encounter between him along with Ravonna, and then hopefully setting Hunter B15 free. So I think that would be kind of great, but I still want to see what made them variants. You know, I want to know what their Nexus events were.
I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I think if Mobius goes back, Ravonna can't be there. So your idea of Ravonna trying to catch them before they get to where they're gonna go could be very plausible, because if Mobius runs into Ravonna, he's dead. I don't see how I think he just gets pruned again. It's like, how do you not, when everybody is still going to listen to what she says regardless of what he's saying, because we done seen this happen already, is people yelling the truth at them and they still follow her, you know what I'm saying, 110%. So if he comes back, Ravonna can't be around, and he has to be somewhere where he just catch them off guard. So I'm very interested in what he's going to be. I really feel like I don't know if they have enough time to finish up the story in like 48 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe there's another like 55-minute episode or 50-minute episode here.
Because I need to know what's going on. I don't need to know, but I want to know what's going on with B15. I need them to wrap up Mobius and Ravonna, but then you have to give Loki and Sylvie time on screen. Like them getting to where they going, you can't cheat them. They need at least a good 30 minutes on screen to wrap up everything they got going on. So it's going to be very interesting the way that they handle this. And to be totally honest, I think they're going to knock it out the park, even if they don't have a 55-minute episode. I just trust in them that much from what they've shown me already.
Yeah, like you mentioned before, the pacing has been pretty great for this season. I personally feel like also. So I do hope that one of the things that we talked about very early on in this season was all the terms and the terminology that they wind up teaching us, right, to kind of get us ready for this particular series. They did manage to go ahead and fit in a lot of information within a certain amount of time. So I almost feel like they probably will be able to do that again here with the finale. So I'm hoping it's not feeling too rushed, because I honestly do feel like the pacing has actually been pretty good. AJ does go on in regards to Ravonna. He does say, is she playing dumb, or does she really know what's going on? She had quite the smirk after talking about B15. Yeah, I definitely agree with you, AJ. And again, we'll have to see what happens with Ravonna. But for me, it just feels odd that you want to know who's behind it, but at the same time you're playing, I don't want to say playing dumb, but she's almost playing like she has to protect this TVA at all costs, even though she knows the truth behind it. So I am trying to find out where her loyalties lie, and I definitely do think we'll find that out come the season finale for sure.
Well, I'm gonna want to protect that type of job if I have it. It's cushy. You at the top, everybody answers to you. Like, why wouldn't you try to protect that and keep, you know what I'm saying, the truth from coming out? So she has motive. She had, even if that's the slightest motive, is the power where she sits right now. But I do think it's more than that, because I do feel there's a certain way she grew, you know what I'm saying, to that power. And there's some other type of connection, but I wouldn't want to get that spot up as a judge.
I guess that's true too. I guess that's true too. But we'll definitely see what happens, guys. A lot of stuff, a lot of momentum certainly has been built up for the season finale that we're certainly going to be getting next week, and we'll definitely be here to certainly talk about it with you guys. So, who do you guys think is in that tower towards the end? I'm throwing it out right here, man. I think it's a Mortis. I think it's another variant, if you will, of Kang the Conqueror. So, I'm really do thinking that it's going to be a Mortis, but we'll see what happens. I'm just glad that when it comes to Sylvie and Loki, they've done a great job with their character development. I mean, that sort of awkward love that they have for each other, trying to figure things out for themselves, clearly seeing the changes that are coming to our Loki character. I think this is, if anything, just really going to go ahead and set us off into a great finale. It just says Baron Mordo. I guess that's who he's suggesting is going to be in the...
Yeah. And since I know a lot of people are thinking it's just another Loki, yeah, with you, as long as it's a Kang, whether it's a Mortis or Kang, you know what I'm saying? I feel like you should get that anyway. Baron Mordo, I'm just gonna go out on a limb and just throw out Scarlet Witch, just to do it. Just to do it.
Okay. We'll see what happens. Juicy theories, guys. We definitely want to know your thoughts. But any last comments you want to make, Indy, in regards to this episode before we wrap up?
Nah, other than anybody who is speaking ill of this show, but you're watching stuff like Big Brother, yeah, what's wrong with this world.
Indy throwing the gauntlet down. I love it, man. Well, hey guys, we definitely want to know your thoughts at the end of the day. I thought this was another solid, really enjoyable one. Again, special effects incredible, direction incredible, character growth fantastic as always. I'm gonna miss Sophia DiMartino, man. Don't take her from me. Don't take her from me, guys.
Hey, she says she want to come back too. So Feige,
pay attention, man. She's been doing a great job.
I don't even care if you bring her back as another character. Feige.
Yeah, don't screw this up, man. Don't screw this up. All right, guys. But listen, at the end of the day, these are just our A+ opinions, but we always certainly want to go ahead and know yours. So let your thoughts be known in the comment section box below after this video airs. If you have any other comments or questions, feel free to go ahead and throw them there, and we'll definitely go ahead and continue this discussion with you guys in the comment section. But Indy, if people want to go ahead and reach out to you on social media, sir, where can they find you?
You already know. If you guys want to find me, first and foremost is right here at A+ Hero Report with all the news and reviews to read, do, and jump off. Even though, crap, I still got to do the Flash. Thanks for reminding me, Sherman. Yeah. Y'all can check that out right here. You can find me everywhere else at Nerd Mix Alpha, and you can stream my music just by searching Indy Uchiha on any platform, any DPS.
Awesome, Indy. Good to certainly have you around. Will I have you for this weekend for A+ Hero Report?
I will get back to you because Saturday is my daughter's first birthday.
Ooh, congratulations. Happy early birthday. So yeah, but yeah, if anything, we certainly will be back here every Sunday live at noon Central Time for you guys for another episode of A+ Hero Report. Maybe we'll get Stuart's thoughts on this week's episode, along with maybe some of your guys' comments and questions. But if you want to go ahead and follow us on social media, you can go ahead and do so right here in that top corner over here, and that way over there. A+ Opinions, very active over on Twitter, as well as our main page, which is our Facebook page. And you can also catch us over on Instagram as well as Twitch for you gamers. But other than that, guys, that's going to do it for us here. But we will be back next Wednesday to go ahead and wrap up the season finale. So join us live at 8 p.m. Central Time, and we'll see you next time. But until then, do us a big favor. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And as always, keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye. If you enjoy our content and want to be a part of helping our channel grow, become a patron supporter. We have affordable tiers to choose from that offer a variety of exclusive and early access content, from audio files for all of our shows for you to enjoy on the road, access to our Discord community, and plenty of reactions, reviews, character breakdowns, and more. Check us out at patreon.com/A+opinions. And as always, remember, like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so anytime we drop a brand new video, you will be notified.